Welcome to the You Did This For Why podcast. I'm C, coming to you from a New Jersey White Castle. With me, as always, is G.
Uh, what's up? Fuck Mike Vick till the day I die.
Man, there's a lot of hate there, I feel. So,
Honestly,
just
I
a few
couldn't give less of a
corrections.
shit.
A few corrections from the last episode. I'm pretty sure that you were right, G, when it was mosquitoes or the right wingers. Like that was, I had just said it too. That's what makes that funny to me. Also, apparently you can catch a sparrow. I watched a documentary where a dude just ran up and grabbed one. Like it seemed pretty easy actually.
I still think he should be, proprietarily used for the military instead of just out
I
there catching
mean,
sparrows. If you can catch a
yeah, he's
sparrow,
got
you
some
can catch a
agility,
baseball or however the fuck it goes. You
right?
can dodge a
You
wrench, you can dodge a
can
ball.
do- yeah, it's the same concept really, except with sparrows. Anyway, that brings us to today's episode, which is going to be a music story.
I'm excited for this one.
All right, well, let's get started. February 22nd, 2003. Alhambra police were called to 1700 Grand Avenue in Alhambra, California, for a report of a gunshot wound. The house was known as the Pyrenees Castle because it was massive. It was a mansion.
Already starting off with a nice little gunshot wound, just a good old GSW to get us in the gate.
Right? A little Grand Theft Auto right out the gate. So, Officer Cardella responds to the incident with his partner, and they assess the situation. And he walks up the stairs, 88 stairs, might I add, which
That's
is
a
the
lot of
exact
fucking stairs.
number of. No, it's also the exact number of keys on a piano, which is the weird little trivia bit. So, Mr. Cardella is walking up the stairs with his 40-pound riot shield because shots had already been fired.
Fuck, I walk up 14 stairs without a load and I'm fucking out of breath. 88 with a goddamn riot shield? No, I'm good.
Right? And they make fun of the police department. That dude was packing some defense. So he gets to the door and he sees a person just inside the glass, just pacing back and forth.
Responding to a gunshot wound. Always great to see somebody pacing back and forth.
Yeah, standing there with a comically oversized riot shield. So what he sees is a man that's short in stature, male adult, with long scraggly hair and a high-pitched voice, and he's just speaking gibberish. And he looks at the window and he says, "You got to see this."
That's, fucking what? I don't think I want to see it. I think I need you to come out with your hands up.
I think I'm right out. So they announce their presence. Phil comes outside. And the problem there was he wouldn't take his hands out of his pockets. And so every time they would tell him to put his hands up, he would put his hands back in his pockets and laugh at them. And so Officer Cardella took that giant shield that he had and shield bashed him with it. And then when he fell over, he laid down on top of him with the shield, which I found fantastic.
Look, if I'm responding to a gunshot...
No, hold on. It might be noted that they tased him with an M26 taser, and it didn't really do anything.
Yeah, see, if I'm responding to a gunshot and the dude's pacing back and forth, goes, "Oh, you're gonna want to see this," and then gets tased and doesn't go down, fuck the shield, I'm shooting him. Like, I'm good.
No, this Cardella just shield bashed him, got on top of him while his partner subdued him. Because you're gonna see what this dude looks like later. He's not a big man. So you ask yourself, who just got arrested? Well, Phil Spector was born in 1939 his childhood wasn't necessarily happy, not because of like his parents abused him so much as like his father committed suicide, his sister was mentally ill, like they bullied him for having asthma. And one thing I found interesting was from the very beginning, he claimed to have like security, like he had his little entourage.
I
For
guarantee you that was just dudes like he was like, look, I'll give you my fucking Capri Sun if you just make sure nobody bullies
anything,
me.
just
Like,
please, please, anything. So, I mean, he isolated himself and then started listening to music and was inspired by Elvis, who, I don't know, man, I got strong opinions on Elvis. Let's not go into that here. But at
so
19
far
years
this
old,
is probably the nerdiest fucking thing I've ever heard.
oh no, dude's, yeah, just super nerd.
He's a turbo nerd. Like,
Turbo nerd. So by 19 years old, he formed a band called the Teddy Bears. And the Teddy Bears had a Billboard Top 100 hit in 1958 with a song called To Know Him Is to Love Him. And the title of that song was taken directly from his father's suicide grave.
well, you know, that's one way of
Right,
hitting the top 100. Goddamn.
right about what you know, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know,
you know
man.
what? Right on the subject matter you can, I guess, talk about. Fuck. Goddamn.
Yeah. So this is where you're going to be really surprised, G. So early on in his band, the Teddy Bears, he showed signs of being a little bit difficult to work with.
No, really? I would not have
Yeah, and
guessed
so
that one.
there was tension with the bandmates, and pretty much within the year they were done.
I mean,
But
I feel like if I
Phil
paid a
ain't done yet.
psychic and the psychic was like, "Oh, the band's not gonna last for longer than a year," I'd ask for a refund. Like that one seemed pretty
Right?
obvious out the gate.
You know what we need is the clairvoyance from the Hendrik Hayfek episode. I
You're
feel like they
right.
could figure all this out. They could have been like, "This guy's going to be problems."
It's gonna be an issue.
So he went on to form another band called the Spectors 3. They did 2 singles. They had 1 album. None of it really charted. And then Phil decided that he was going to switch to producing completely.
All right.
So what was notable, because everybody said that he had an ear, like he had an incredible ear.
I mean, I got 2 of them.
Yeah. And just like Puff Daddy, I refuse to call him P. Diddy. His narcissistic nature just convinced him he was the absolute best at what he did.
Many such cases. Always seems to
Mm-hmm.
be you either live long enough
I'm
to
usually
become
cool with it.
narcissistic or you hit the Amy Winehouse route. There's no in between.
Mm-hmm. And I'd rather it be an Amy Winehouse than like a political leader. You know what I mean? Like a Mao. They can do so much more damage. Anyway,
Right.
so what Phil was known for was what he called the wall of sound, which I find really interesting, playing music or whatever. But he would fill up his entire mixing board with as many tracks as he could fit of the same instrument. And he would bring people in to play like 20 guitars to the same part,
Right.
which was completely unheard of at the time. I just feel like that'd be a lot of uncredited people.
Oh, that's so many uncredited people.
Because if you
And
do that on all the instruments, you got like 120 musicians. You're not going to write that out.
at some point, you're just bringing a homeless man in to like, hey, just smack this tambourine a couple times, so I'll
Just
give you $5.
bang on the drum all day. And see, the other thing that people noticed was he had a complete lack of empathy for anybody, and also was known for, well, like I said, stealing music. But the most common way he would do it is have somebody come in and sing that was awesome, and then release a record and have somebody completely different singing when they were on tour, and then not credit the original person that did it.
You know, sounds like a good business practice, honestly. Fuck them.
I mean,
Gotta pay
yeah, I
less
mean,
people. Fuck it.
I'm torn on that. Yeah, I mean, you got 200 musicians, like you can't pay them all, right?
Hey, you gotta cut
Somebody's
corners
gonna get,
somewhere. Fucking.
Yeah, somebody's going to get screwed here. And so that practice basically made him a millionaire in his early 20s. And he is in the Rolling Stone magazine top 100 greatest artists of all time.
I mean, do you really qualify for top 100 artists if you're a producer, though? Like that?
Well, some of the people that he worked with were the Beatles, the Ramones, Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher,
Yeah, but
Elton
like,
John, the
those are the
Ronettes.
artists.
They become important later. Bruce Springsteen, Leonard Cohen. I mean, he's worked with so many people.
Yeah, but like, those are the artists. Like, don't get me wrong, producing's a talent in and of itself, but I feel like that's a different category than artists.
Well, when he brings like 4 buses worth of people in to play one song, you know what I mean? It's like, really? But
Well, like, if
producers
a.
still use that to this day. Like that's why they keep layering stuff over layers. Is because Phil came up with that.
Yeah, but like, if a pimp rolls up on the block with like a van full of prostitutes, he's not the greatest prostitute of all time. Like,
Mm-mm.
he's top 100 pimp, maybe, but not top 100 prostitute. Like,
I mean, that's all I'm saying. Like, I blame Rolling Stone if you want. They've got
I
him in his
am.
top,
You
the
know
top
what,
100.
Rolling Stone?
Yeah,
If someone at your magazine's
I
listening to
used
this
to
for some
read you.
goddamn reason,
You didn't read it. I used to when I was a kid, man. Like when I was a teenager, Rolling Stone was like a spot to get because there wasn't the internet. You know what I mean?
I mean, I've definitely read 1 or 2 Rolling Stones while taking a shit, but that's about it.
Yeah. So Officer Cardella, after having subdued Phil, goes into the house and they find a woman slumped in a chair with an obvious gunshot wound to the mouth. His description was eerie music, like classical music, was playing through the entire house. Because keep in mind, this is a mansion. This is like his quote unquote castle.
Well, I will say, so I have met somebody who had their entire house wired up with surround sound before, like stereo, fucking hooked up to the radio, all that. And let me tell you, it is unnerving trying to go to the bathroom, and as soon as you walk into the bathroom, Welcome to the Jungle starts playing. It is
I
not a
had
fun time.
I had a girlfriend that had that set up, but it was like voice activated, so I could be like, "Hey, Alexa, play Backstreet Boys,"
See,
and
his
the
was
whole
just,
house would just be, you know what I mean? But it was crazy to have that kind of power.
right?
And then
I
we
would
would
abuse
just
the shit
fight
out of
over it.
that.
It was kind of fun. Yeah, we'd fight over it. It was great.
See, this dude's
So
was just hardwired to a stereo that was just picking up whatever radio channel he was on.
yeah, not as fun. So Cordella comes in and he finds again a woman slumped in a chair. She's obviously got a gunshot wound to the mouth. The music, he looks and there's a loaded revolver under her left leg. Next to her is a like side table that has the drawer open and there's a holster in there that's empty. So it looks to him like that's where that came from, right? He also noted that when he looked around, there was just teeth all over the ground.
Well, gunshot wound to
Like
the mouth, I would expect teeth to be flying.
everywhere. Yeah. And he checked her, and obviously there's no vital signs.
Meanwhile, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say this isn't a suicide, because what kind of fucking weird ass contortionist position would you have to be in to shoot yourself in the mouth and then have the gun end up under your leg? I just don't see that one
Yes.
happening.
Right. So obviously Phil's suspect number one. And at this point, Richard Tomlin arrives on the scene. And he's going to be our detective guy here. And actually, I'm not going to be critical of him, honestly. So he shows up. There's a mob of people. There's cameras everywhere. Media is already there. So it's just like those kids running down the thing in the Hinterkaifeck effect one where they're telling everybody. That's exactly what happened. And so he gets there and it's a media circus immediately because Phil's famous. And we're going to find out that the lady in the chair is also famous.
I bet like half of them were TMZ too.
Probably.
Goddamn vultures.
They're like ticks, dude. Okay, so they identify the woman as Lana Clarkson. And so she's sitting in the chair, her legs stretched out, gunshot wound to the face. And the detective noticed that there's not a lot of blood for that kind of wound, and it doesn't seem to be any sort of like struggle or altercation having happened in the house.
Right. Which, the lack of blood thing, that would catch me off guard.
Yeah, that seems like a red flag, right? He also notices that the back door is missing. It's got a deadbolt, but it's missing the turning mechanism, a little handle. He notices next to like on the table where the revolver was, or the holster rather, there's vodka and tequila bottles pretty well gone. I mean, it looks like some drinking had been done.
Alcohol and guns always mix. Just drink a fifth of vodka and then pull out your concealed carry weapon and just have a good time.
I mean, I feel like that's what Kid Rock would do, right?
Nothing ever goes wrong when you mix those two things.
Please don't do what Kid Rock would do.
If you're ever in a situation and you're thinking to yourself, what would Kid Rock do? Get the fuck out of that situation.
Yeah, that music festival is going to fail. So they discover pretty quickly that the person in the chair is Lana Clarkson. And so Lana was blonde. She was very attractive and athletic. Everybody said she would light up a room when she walked in. Guys were always after her. She was in some B movies back in the day, like Barbarian Queen and Barbarian Queen 2. Yeah, and I actually watched Barbarian Queen just for research on this. And now I don't know that I recommend it, but she was the best part of that movie for sure, just acting wise. So she had bit parts in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels, and The Love Boat, which is like my favorite like old show ever.
I will say, I'm just waiting for the day that there's a murder victim that isn't described as lighting up a room. Like, I just want one to be like, oh yeah, Jerry was a fucking cunt.
Jerry was a bitch, dude. I fucking hated that guy. I mean, I'm sure there is. We could probably look into that. I'm pretty sure we could find one. So immediately, Phil Spector is like, it's a suicide. But the detective's kind of looking at him like, nah, you just got tased and bashed with the fucking shield. I'm not buying that.
I'm not a detective, and I'm already calling bullshit on the suicide route.
Right? Okay, so Spector's defense, he said he left the room, and when he came back, she had his gun, pointing it to her face, just mumbling. He couldn't understand what she said, and then she pulled the trigger.
It's a better defense than I thought he would have. I thought he was just going to be like, it was a mime. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right? Keep in mind, he had just been tased and obviously drank an entire bottle of vodka because that was already on the table. You know what I mean? It was pretty clear he drank that whole damn thing. So when he got to the station, Phil was like super aggressive. He was, fucking this, fucking that constantly. And he was just kind of flexing at the officers, telling them how much influence and connection he had.
I feel like if the officers were musicians, that might work, but I have a feeling they're not, so.
But, yeah, no. Because at that point, Detective Tomlin has to let him go because he doesn't have enough evidence at this point to prove that it wasn't a suicide.
Sometimes I feel like, maybe evidence is a little overrated.
Right. He's obviously guilty, dude. Like, he straight up did it.
This wasn't caught with his hand in the cookie jar. This was caught with his dick in the peanut butter. Like, this is obviously guilty.
Okay, so what Phil does right after that is he does a bunch of press conferences and like interviews, just saying, no, that was totally a suicide. And his claim was that she wanted to die in the house of a famous person because she was depressed. That's what he said to the media.
I don't think Phil understands how depression works. I'm going to keep it real with you.
All right, well, let's talk about that.
Not once have I ever thought, I want to die in Michael Jackson's mansion. It's always been like, I'm going to go throw myself off a bridge in the middle of the woods. Like that's...
No, it's not Neverland. It's never going there. You know what I mean? I'm not interested.
Speaking of Michael Jackson, I feel like Bubbles could solve this fucking case. Get his monkey in here.
Yeah, I'd rather go to like a trust exercise than go to like Neverland. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that, Michael Jackson was a molester, but I feel like that place would be too creepy even for me.
You know, the room with like the carousel in it. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm out, bro. That reminds me of a movie that I shouldn't have watched.
It's like a B-rated It movie. I'm
Okay.
good.
So, talking about depression or whatever, autopsy showed that she died by a gunshot wound to the mouth, obviously,
Oh,
but it hit her spinal cord
oh, damn.
when it shot, and she was out almost immediately, which is, I don't know, a shining light in this stupid story. But they did determine that she had alcohol and she also had Vicodin in her system at the time that she died.
Yeah, I feel like if you're on alcohol and Vicodin, it's real hard to pull a trigger. I'm gonna be real with you. Like,
Right? So now Detective Tomlin, the guy, doesn't have enough evidence yet on mega superstar like producer. He's trying to like profile Lana. And so basically what was said about her was that she was having problems. She broke her wrist, so she couldn't work. She did B movies. And she was taking Vicodin because of her wrist. And she was scared she was aging out of the movie industry because even in B movies, you're going to age out at some point.
I feel like if you got a broken wrist, it's also pretty hard to put a gun in your mouth. Like,
You would think, and I didn't figure out which wrist it was, but that is a fantastic point. Yeah.
I mean, I
So
guess regardless, you have the other hand you could do it with, but I feel like that's a lot of work when you could just take all the fucking Vicodin you have. Like, that seems like a way easier approach to this.
well, also, like, how do most men kill themselves versus how most women kill themselves?
Yeah, this is definitely
Women,
a man suicide. This is not a
no,
woman suicide.
yeah. Keep in mind, even a B movie actress is not going to shoot herself in the face. Like, she'll shoot herself somewhere else, or slit her wrists, or like take some pills or whatever. She's not shooting herself in the face like a dude would. And so at this point, her manager just said, like in an interview, that it was becoming too much for her. She was probably paid by Phil. Pumpkin Pie claimed to be her best friend and corroborated that whole thing.
Now, I don't know who this person
I
is,
don't even
but it
know who the
sounds like a
Pumpkin
porn
Pie
star.
is. Well, it's not a person I would trust. If you came up to me and you had your little name tag and said, "Hello, my name is Pumpkin Pie," I'd be like, "Nah,
It's like
nah," and I'd just walk away.
I bet you operate a porn camera real well. I'll trust you with that, but anything else, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. And yeah, this is California, probably around that time. So Detective Tom was suspicious, right? Because most people commit suicide in private, not in somebody's house.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that they just met. You know what I mean?
suicide's usually a pretty isolated incident, unless you have a political message to push, and then it's usually public. But other than that, I have a feeling dying in Phil Spector's mansion wasn't a political thing. So
Mm-mm. No, I don't think there was any stance behind it, really. So he looked at her website. There was nothing negative on her website, actually. It was all positive. Like this was going to be her year, all that stuff. So Lana was working at the House of Blues, and just side fact, it was owned by Dan Aykroyd at the time. Not trying to drag Dan in anything here. I'm sure he's aware.
yeah, right.
But she was the. Go ahead.
I was about to say Dan Aykroyd. I feel like he was too busy looking for the crystal skulls to commit any murder. Like
Well, I mean, good for Dan. Nothing happened at his spot.
he was out in the Philippines looking for some artifacts. He had no time to.
Right. So at this time, like this is before she came to his mansion. Lana was like the head hostess, the VIP area at the House of Blues. And so she was like the lady because she was very attractive back in the day, like strikingly so. Like I see why everybody keeps saying this about her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like she did have a natural beauty and apparently was a very nice person on top of that, which makes this even more sad. So Phil comes in, and Lana thinks that he was a woman because he had a wig on, and she was like, "Hey, Miss Spector," and so he immediately corrected her, like, "No, I'm Mr. Spector. I'm Phil Spector." Because with this little fucking, we're gonna discover that Phil is 5'4" and about 130 pounds.
Well, you can't win them
So
all.
let's put that all into perspective here. And so Lana's manager comes over to her and is like, "Hey, this guy's a big shot. Like, you need to, you know, treat him right or whatever. Find some room for him in the club because it was pretty packed." And so Phil was only there for 30 minutes. And then he went outside, and on his way out, he asked her to meet him outside. Okay, ladies, don't ever do that. Go to a second location. Thank you.
Never go to a second location.
Always bad. Just don't do it. Yep. All right, so at this point, like, knowing that, Tomlin goes back and he's like, "I want to see the security footage of what happened outside the House of Blues," right? I mean, but it's going to take a while for them to process all that. So he goes back to Phil's house at this point, and he's looking around, and he finds what's called a diaper. It's not like an actual diaper. It's a cloth that gun users own to clean their guns. And in a trash can in a downstairs bathroom, he found a cloth for cleaning a gun that was covered in blood that was thrown in the trash can. He also found blood in the toilet. He found blood in the toilet, and then he also found what he described as a pretty poor attempt at cleaning up. I don't know, man. So who do you think did it?
I'm still going with my mime theory. I think it was a rogue mime.
All right.
That's somehow less cuckoo bananas than this bullshit is.
And this is what I'm saying. Normally we hear stories about like police doing their job badly. I feel like this dude was on it. He just knew that he had to have enough to make it stick. You know what I mean?
But to be fair,
so he
I
went
feel
back
like
upstairs.
If you
keep in mind,
into
her body's still, her body's still laying there. All this happened in a short amount of time. Like, he went and did all that like quickly, came back, and he noticed that she had a smudge on her face, and was like, if you shoot yourself in the face, you're probably not going to wipe your own face.
I feel like if I walked into a room and there was a dead body on the ground with like 16 gunshot wounds in it, and there was a man holding a gun and Phil Spector standing next to him, I would immediately be like, "Oh, well, Phil, you kind of, you look like you did it, bud. I don't know what to tell you."
I think you did it, bro. So one of the weird things that I got from that documentary or whatever was she did have Phil's DNA on her, like on one of her breasts, and it indicated they had kissed. You know what I mean? So,
you know what?
I don't know. What do you think happened there? You think she rejected him and then he got all crazy?
I think just based off what I've heard, if I had to guess, it was probably Phil being like, "Oh, you know what? I produced all these artists. I can produce a second mouth for you if you want me to."
Yeah. Phil is... Okay, so they find no fingerprints on the gun. Like, Tomlin's like, okay, somebody wiped that. There's got to be a fingerprint somewhere.
Again, if you commit suicide, you're not wiping off the gun. Work.
And so he looks at her body and he's like, all right, I already know that she's right-handed, which to me would indicate the cast would probably be on the left side. But you know what I mean? If she had a cast on her main hand, that would have been something that was notable, I think.
Right.
And the gun was at her left foot. So he was kind of questioning that whole, like, how did that fall? One thing he did notice, too, was she had her purse over her right shoulder, like she was about to get up and leave.
You know, this is sounding more and more like a rejection thing.
Mm-hmm. So, the detective goes and gets the footage or whatever. It definitely shows her getting into the limo. So she got in the car with this dude.
You know, I did a little Google search just because I was curious. Apparently, it was both
Mm-hmm.
her wrists that she broke.
Really? So how does a two-casted woman? Never mind. So that night they noticed that Phil was wearing black pants, a black shirt, and he had a comically oversized jacket, which was normally his style. Like he would show up in a suit jacket that went down to his knees
I really want to
with that
know what
with
the
that fucking crazy
correlation
hair.
from
I can't even
being.
imagine seeing this dude in public. I'd be like, I'm sorry, what are you doing?
Why the fuck are you out in public and within 100 feet of a playground? What's going on here?
Yeah.
I really want to
So
know what the correlation between jacket size and being a shady producer is, because it seems like the shadier you are, the bigger the jacket gets.
I feel like it's the more low man complex you got, the bigger the jacket you're gonna put on. And speaking of which, Detective Tomlin, being awesome, goes back and he starts looking through the house, and upstairs in the closet he finds that jacket. And the jacket was cleaned, but he was looking at it fairly closely and was like, there's little like speckles here, right? So he took it back to the lab like you should do.
Right.
And so at this point, dude's like, yeah, yeah, he killed her. And so at this point, he goes and starts traveling around to talk to people who knew Phil. And what they find is the history of a love of guns, psychotropic drugs, and him using a gun to overcompensate for being a very small man. Like he's got a long history of pulling guns on people.
You know, I feel like if you got a love of psychotropic drugs and guns, that usually doesn't
Yeah.
end well when those two mix together.
Mm-mm. Yeah, especially when it's a history. Like this wasn't yesterday. He's been doing this for a minute. So in one incident, he pulled a gun at the Beverly Hills Hotel on the valet dude, stuck it to his head, and told him, I'll kill you. If I have to wait for my Rolls Royce that long again, I'll blow your fucking brains out. In broad daylight in front of
Nerd.
a bunch of people. I know, right? What a dickhead, dude. You know what he got? A $75 ticket.
That's the gayest
That one
shit ever. If you're gonna pull a
that
gun
one
on me, you
burns
better
me,
pull the
dude. I'm
goddamn
like,
trigger. Like,
$75? That was attempted murder, mother. You know what I mean? Like $75. I would be upset with that ticket.
I would, yeah, it's like, you kidding me? I only pay $75 for this? Fuck it, I'm gonna do this more. This is, like...
And so earlier when I was listing off the artists that he worked with, whatever, the Ronettes was one of them, because he was married to Ronnie, like Ronnie O, the Ronettes. And in her autobiography, she claims that he locked her in the house, surrounded it by big aggressive dogs, wouldn't let her drive at all. And keep in mind, he had automatic locks. Like he could figure that shit out. So finally, he relented and bought her a car. But if she went anywhere, she had to have a mannequin of him in the passenger seat with a wig on to look like him.
You know, if I was her, I would start calling the mannequin Better Phil. Like, if you get pulled over and you're like, ma'am, why the fuck is there a mannequin in your passenger seat? That's
At
just,
least he
that's
doesn't have a
Better
gun.
Phil.
Yeah, at least he doesn't have a gun. And so basically, every woman that they talked to said the same thing, that he'd drink to excess, would get really insulting and angry when they tried to leave, and he would try to like hold them captive.
Are we sure this dude
And
isn't from Arkansas? This sounds like some
I
Arkansas
know,
shit.
right? It does. It sounds like a hillbilly stick shit. But he would always say like, "Oh, you ready to leave?" and then pull his gun out.
That may
What
qualify for just...
the
That
dumbest
sounds
shit I've
like a
ever.
plot
I
point in
would
a gay porn. I'm gonna be completely honest
no.
with
I
you.
feel
Like,
like
that's...
if he pulled his little revolver out and said that to me, I would bitch smack him so hard. I'd bitch smack him like Marshawn Lynch, like Don't you even dare come at me like that.
I'm just
Which is how I get
picturing this
shot by a small
dude.
golem in a wig.
He looks like if Nanny McPhee and Mrs. Doubtfire had like
Oh,
a
yeah. No,
very
look at his court
incestuous
picture.
baby. Like it's just
Look at his court picture and look at his mugshot. Like when the slick down one. Oh, it's like a guy obviously in a wig and then golem. So he was also quoted as saying, and I quote, "All women deserve a bullet in their head." So I feel like we're dealing with a person that
do we get to blame
and
Phil
just
Spector for incels? Is that
just
what I'm hearing?
odd thing. People he pulled guns on. Sonny and Cher separately, not together, probably together, but definitely separately. And Sonny was like, "All right, Mr. Spector, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna finish this producing or whatever." Cher was like, "Fuck off, bitch," and just like you ain't gonna shoot me, and just walked off. And
You know,
she was like 19 at the time. That is a badass bitch, dude. Like I love Cher.
Cher is what I imagine Angelina Jolie wants to be.
You know what? I think you're onto something there. Yeah, I think you might be right. So it turns out in the house, I remember Tomlin had looked at the deadbolt and noticed that the knob was missing. It basically was reversed. So Phil could take that off and take the whole way to open the door with him. So even if she tried to leave, she's not getting out that door.
Does this man own a screwdriver? Like, do you think he had to go buy
I
a
don't know.
screwdriver once he started taking the doorknobs off?
But listen to this and listen to where it goes. So the lab results come back, and it's definitely Alana's blood that was in that sink. Or I'm sorry, the toilet. And also on the rag that was in the trash can next to the toilet. Dude, how are you going to shoot yourself in the face and walk downstairs, try to clean up, throw it in the toilet and the trash can, walk back upstairs with all your teeth hanging out, sit down and die? I don't buy that for 1 second.
It's the Vicodin.
You think so? Man, that's some strong Vicodin. And so the results from the jacket come back. Oh, surprise. Lana's blood. And so Phil at this point was like, I was way across the room. There's no way. That's how I got the splatter on my jacket. Because she shot herself in the chair, right? So he's clinging to straws here.
I think Phil has a just fundamental misunderstanding of how blood spatters.
I think he understands one thing.
Because if this is like a mansion, I assume that room's pretty fucking big. I don't think the blood's going that far. So
and to me, again,
bullshit.
Is this dude was like a music icon, like a legend. And to be this fucking crazy, dude. Again, he's an old. I think P. Diddy fucking learned from him. You know what I mean? He studied him. Was like, that's how you do it. Like
just
this guy favored Ike Turner over Tina Turner. Like that don't even make sense to me, dude. He went to Ike Turner's funeral and started talking shit about Tina Turner.
Well, as any sane, rational person would.
Right? So yeah, 7 months later, he got charged with murder. And again, huge media thing, and it was like,
I've never been more shocked in my life.
Justice versus privilege. Right? So in press conferences, Phil would like listen to his lawyers defend him, and he would just be like, "You're doing too much," or no, they were like, "You're doing too much." So he would fire him because he was acting out. He's the superstar, right? He's trying to act like Prince all of a sudden.
God, what I would not pay to see this man defend himself in court, Ted Bundy style.
Oh, dude, you can watch the trial. It's pretty awesome. He doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does, it's gold. Like the stupidity.
By the way, is he British? Because even if he's not, I'm just picturing he is.
Nope.
Like,
no, he comes from like, I guess, kind of Russian family that settled in the Bronx, born in 1939. So he's an
He
old dude.
looks more British than the Beatles do. Like, I'm just gonna keep it honest with you. Like,
Dude, he fucked with the Beatles, John Lennon. So remember I said the Ronettes? Ronnie was the singer for that, which was like his quote unquote girlfriend. But he was also fucking married at the time. But Ronnie didn't know that. And so Ronnie went over to Europe to do a thing with the Beatles because John Lennon loved her. They started getting to a point, and Ronnie was like, I got to shut this down. I've got a guy back home, right?
you
Which
know
is
what?
fucking why. Fucking why. And then Spector got so upset, he flew over there. He pushed Ronnie out of the whole thing, took John Lennon and the Beatles, came back, landed. And if you look at the iconic, like, Beatles Come to America photo, that's that photo. Like, Ronnie should have been in that fucking photo. She didn't get credit for anything, and I think that's bullshit.
Have we ever taken a moment to consider that maybe it was Phil Spector that shot John Lennon? Because I'm just saying, John Lennon shot with a 38. Lana Clarkson shot with a 38. It
Maybe he
lines up.
hired him. I don't think Phil Spector would be capable physically of doing that, but
I feel
I
like
mean, he's
even
good at
John
pushing
Lennon
a
would be like,
knob up and down on a
no.
mixing board. You know what I mean? He's not getting in a street fight, bro.
If he pointed a gun at John Lennon, I feel like John Lennon would just be like, "You're not gonna do it," and then he wouldn't. Like, it's just.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can imagine how it goes. In court, they drag Lana's name. They were like, she's depressed, frustrated, aging. She's never going to get a job again, right? And so when
I feel
the
like
call
Phil's
was initially,
projecting.
so the initial call that came in was from a man named D'Souza, and that was the driver that had driven Phil that night. And so he drives up, he stops, Phil and Lana get out, they go in the house. He's just chilling in the car like drivers do. And he hears what he thinks is a gunshot. And so he gets out of the car, looks, and out of the back door, remember the one with the fucking weird deadbolt? He
Yeah.
sees Phil come out with the gun in his hand, blood on his hands. And he says, and I quote, I think I killed someone. And so D'Souza looks at him and is like, all right, boss. And he takes off running. And then as he's running, he recounts remembering, wait a second, I left my car. And so he runs back, gets in his car, peels the hell out of there, and then calls 911 to report it. So that's where the call came from, was Phil's own driver.
You know, it is nice to have a story where at least one person in it has actually good survival instincts.
I do love that. He just ran and it was like, oh shit, I left my car. I got to go back.
You know, he
Like,
just put
my
he just bought that
my
thing.
boss is gonna be so mad at me if I don't get that car.
Like, if he owned the car for like a year or two, he would have just said fuck it and left it. Like, I'm not getting shot over this. He just put
Yeah,
the down
somebody got
payment
shot.
on that motherfucker. Like,
And so in court, they said that it was basically cracking branches, and that the fountain was so loud that he couldn't have possibly heard, I think I killed someone, which I'm like, that's ludicrous, dude. Just get out of here with that.
there's no way he could have heard it. You know what? He may not be British, but I'm gonna take this episode to shit on the British because he looks British. It's y'all's fault. I don't know how, but it is.
Yeah. So the first trial, deadlocked. Two people were not quite sure that it wasn't a suicide. And so it takes like 4 years before they bring him back to trial again.
Were
And the
those
second time
two
they did,
people who weren't sure? Was one of them Bubbles? Like, was one of them Michael Jackson's monkey?
now I'm pretty sure it's probably Pumpkin Pie from earlier in our story.
And follow-up
I mean,
question, was the
if it's
second
anybody,
person...
it's got to be her. Because I don't feel like Pumpkin Pie has a job other than just narking on Phil's enemies.
I'm just saying, today, if you told me your name was Pumpkin Pie, I would assume you do, like... You post your ass on Instagram. That's just my best guess at that point.
Yeah, I'd assume a lot of meth too, probably. So, the second time, they found him guilty. But our good detective, Mr. Tomlin, came back and discovered or noted that there was a bruise on her tongue. which means that the barrel of that gun was pressed with force into her mouth before the trigger was pulled. So, I mean, it's pretty conclusive evidence, right?
I mean,
So our stupid friend, Mr. Phil Spector, obviously did it. He died in prison in 2021. He was 81 years old, and he died from complications of COVID, which about the only thing good to come out of COVID.
I mean, how fitting is it that the man who put a gun in someone's mouth and pulled the trigger died of a respiratory disease?
Right? One that could have been easily preventable, Phil, if you weren't 81 years old. Yeah, I don't know, man. That story was just kind of messed up because, like, he obviously did it, but it took so long for them to get enough evidence to fight his lawyers, I guess.
Well, that's because
You know
they
what I
had
mean?
Bubbles and Blanket on the fucking jury. Like, I don't know about this, Bubbles. I don't think he
Right?
did it.
And that's all it takes for something that's that one-sided to just be like, no, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's Phil Spector.
Well,
I feel
this
like
is
it's
still the
so
British's
crazy
fault.
to be that crazy for that long, but also invent something that people are still using. It's
You're
almost like
right.
he invented a music toaster. You know what I mean? And we all use a toaster every day. Phil
This
came up with that.
is
But he
like
was batshit insane.
it's like if
Like,
Ted Bundy
dude,
invented the rolling pin or some shit. Like,
that's 100% what it is. And I was like, what the hell? And there's, like, looking at Phil Spector, dude, there's stuff I hadn't even talked about that he did that was just insane.
he strikes me as the type of person where, like, if you told him you didn't like a song that he happened to produce, he would just he would do that
Pull
thing
a
where
gun
it's
out
like,
on you.
no, it's okay, it's fine, it didn't offend me.
And then, ha ha! Like a
By the
little
way,
leprechaun. Like a little leprechaun with a revolver, just hiding his golem ass hair. That's how I see him.
don't drag Warwick Davis into this.
No, dude, I fucking
Warwick
love Warwick
Davis
Davis.
did not
Dude,
deserve any of this bullshit.
dude, Warwick Davis is a fucking treasure.
He's a goddamn national treasure.
No, he's not a national treasure. I don't know. He's living in America. Anyway, all right. So that was Phil Spector. I guess we'll be back next time.
Oh yeah, no. Next time we will be going into the very, very long case of
Yeah,
Randy
I know.
Stair.
Yeah,
God damn,
this has
there
been
is so much
laborious
about this
for you.
motherfucker.
Yeah, this has been laborious for you. I know. So
I just had to
I'm
pick
looking
the
forward
one
to it, man.
dude who just had unfettered access to YouTube and uploaded so much shit. So much about him.
All right.
But no, until next time,
Yeah.
continue supporting the podcast however you do, subscriptions, whatever the fuck. You can find us on YouTube at You Did This for Why Cast. Instagram, You Did This for Why Pod. Spotify, we're on there too. But yeah, so.
All right. G, on that note, I'm about to go in this White Castle in Jersey and tear it up. Peace out.
Peace out.